The Ramayana. You've probably heard of it. For many, it's that foundational story of good versus evil, duty, devotion. But you know what? This ancient epic is so much more than just a story. It's actually a living, breathing bridge connecting cultures, nations, and even time itself. And today, we're going to unpack exactly how.
I love this quote because it gets right to the heart of it. A geographical and spiritual cartography. Think about that. It's not just a story, it's a map. A map that charts the deep civilizational connection between India and Sri Lanka, turning the ocean that separates them into a bridge of shared heritage. And that's the big idea we're going to explore.
So the big question is, why does this story still have so much pull? We're talking about nearly 24,000 verses, which makes it one of the biggest ancient epics in the world. Well, it's because people see it as this universal source of wisdom, with lessons that are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. So let's start where the story starts, in the city of Ayodhya.
Okay, so picture this. The story opens in a kingdom that's basically perfect, a utopia. The city of Ayodhya is described as being completely without parallel. But you know how stories go. Even in paradise, there's always a catch. A single flaw that can set everything in motion. And check this out. This is so cool. You can see how different writers imagine this perfection. The original author, Valmiki, is super direct. He just lists it out. No liars, no greed, no uneducated people. Boom. But then centuries later, the Tamil poet Kambar gets way more poetic. He says there are no locks on the doors, because there are no thieves. It's such a clever way of saying the same thing, and it just shows how deep this idea of a perfect city really ran.
And here it is, the flaw in paradise. With all that perfection, all that wealth and virtue, the kingdom had no heir. This one, very personal problem for the king becomes the trigger for the entire story. It's the tiny spark that's about to light a massive fire.
All right, so the stage is set, and what unfolds is this journey of, well, cosmic proportions. Before we dive into the really deep stuff, the psychology, the politics, let's just do a quick flyby of the main plot so we're all on the same page.
So, in a nutshell, Rama, the hero and rightful king, gets exiled for 14 years. While he's away, his wife Sita is kidnapped by the demon king Ravana. This forces Rama to build a massive army and wage a war to get her back. In the end, good triumphs over evil, he rescues Sita, and they finally return home to rule their kingdom. It sounds like a classic hero's journey, right? But believe me, there is so much more going on just beneath the surface.
And this is where things get really interesting. Because beyond all the action and adventure, the Ramayana is a really profound look at what it means to be human. What's really driving these characters? What does their journey tell us about ourselves?
You know, it's fascinating to look at this through the lens of modern psychology. Take Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As a prince, Rama starts at the very top of this pyramid. He's got safety, love, esteem, the whole shebang. But then, bam, exile hits. Everything is stripped away. And his journey isn't just about rescuing his wife. It's about climbing back up that pyramid to the very peak, self-actualization. It's about discovering his true purpose.
Here's another way to look at it. Through the idea of the superego. That's basically your moral conscience, the little voice that tells you right from wrong. Well, Rama is often called Maryada Pushyatam, which means the ideal man. And why? Because his superego is always in the driver's seat. His choices are always driven by duty and morality, even when it costs him dearly. He's basically the superego in human form.
Okay, so we've looked inside the mind. Now let's zoom out. Because this story isn't just about an internal, personal journey. It's also a masterclass in strategy, in statecraft, what we would now call international relations. Seriously, it reads like an ancient playbook for geopolitics.
Just look at how Rama builds his army. He doesn't just show up and demand that people fight for him. Nope. He builds a coalition. Step 1, he finds a potential ally, Sugriva, who has his own problems. Step 2, he helps him solve those problems big time. And step 3, he secures an alliance. In return for his help, he gets a whole army. It's a textbook case of brilliant diplomacy.
And get this is what blows my mind. The story talks about concepts that feel incredibly modern. You know diplomatic immunity, right? The whole don't shoot the messenger rule? That was officially made a global law in 1961. But they're sitting there debating the principle thousands of years ago in the court of the Demon King. And here's the proof. When the messenger Hanuman is captured, the villain Ravana wants to execute him on the spot. But his own brother, Vibhishana, steps in and says, "Whoa, hold on, you can't do that. It's against all statecraft." I mean, how incredible is that? Even in the middle of a supernatural war, they're arguing about the rules of engagement.
So all of this brings us to today. The Ramayana isn't some dusty old book on a shelf. It's a living legacy that is still shaping culture, tourism, and even foreign policy. That bridge of shared heritage we talked about at the beginning, well, it's very much real and still under construction.
And you can actually see this bridge in the real world. In Sri Lanka, there's a project called the Ramayana Trail. They've identified more than 50 actual physical places from the epic: caves, mountains, battlegrounds. It means you can literally visit these locations. It transforms a myth into a real-world pilgrimage.
And the impact here is huge, and it works on so many different levels. Culturally, it creates this shared experience for millions of people. Diplomatically, it's a form of soft power, strengthening the bonds between India and Sri Lanka. And economically, it drives tourism, which is absolutely critical for Sri Lanka's economy right now.
Now, of course, it's not all simple. Bringing an ancient story into the modern world comes with real challenges. There's the risk of turning something sacred into just another tourist trap. These heritage claims can get tangled up in modern politics. The actual sites are often fragile and at risk from environmental damage. And a lot of the time, the money from all this tourism doesn't even make it to the local communities who are the true keepers of these places.
So that leaves us with this one big critical question. As this ancient epic finds new life today, is this shared heritage going to be a bridge that connects us, or is it going to become a battleground to fight over the past? It really feels like the final chapter of this epic is still being written.